Whew. Well, welcome back, everybody.
Here we are.
It's Monday.
It's Monday.
Below Average Joe's UFC podcast, episode 7.
It's time for another recap.
Recap of the
UFC
past
Vegas
Saturday's
7.
fights. Yep. So
Fitting.
my name's Noah.
My name's Dominic.
And how was the weekend, Dom?
It was good, and as we anticipated, on our preview show Friday, we were blessed with some incredible fights this weekend.
You are correct. Probably not in the way that we thought.
Also true.
If you watched our breakdown of Saturday's fights, thank you, first off. But secondly, sorry for wasting your time. Because 2 of the 5 fights that we talked about, one, where I delved into an entire 20-minute story about the Yakuza and their stronghold in Japan.
And Asian mixed martial arts
Yes.
and pride and everything.
That guy dropped out of the fight
Yeah, he didn't even
24
fight.
hours later.
Yeah.
He said, I don't want to be the Asian market guy.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Shout out us for hyping him up so much.
Takashi Sato, you're dead to me.
Oh. That's a little much.
Yeah.
Come on. Anyways.
OSP would have destroyed your
Whoa.
boy.
Whoa. Whoa.
So I'm just kidding. All right.
But
All right.
yes, that's the second fight. That also fell through.
In case you didn't watch, I'm just going to break down the results for you here. Our main event was all bantamweight action as Frankie Edgar, in his first fight at bantamweight, picked up the split decision victory over Pedro Munoz, who was number 5 going into this fight. Our co-main was the light heavyweight fight between Mike Rodriguez and Marcin Prokhnio. This was the fight that we had mentioned as like a loser leaves the brand.
Yep.
Third fight of the night. This is one that got bumped from the prelims to the main card because of OSP.
And Minifield.
Yeah, Minifield. I keep
Chopped.
forgetting his name.
OSP tested positive for COVID.
Yeah, so hope the best for him there. But
and hopefully a quick turnaround in September, I would
agree.
hope.
I guess that's when it's rebooked. But this fight ended up being Joe Selecki getting the rear naked choke on Austin Hubbard. Forgot to mention that the co-main ended with a KO from elbow, that nice
Brutal
elbow, and then some
elbow.
punches on the ground. Women's flyweight action. Now I'm sensing the egg on my face as Shayna Dobson
Yeah. Plus
Picks up-
800 underdog.
picks up the underdog win over Maria Agapova.
Biggest upset in UFC since Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, if you go by the actual betting odds.
Yeah. Kind of a big deal.
Yeah, so that was a second round TKO. And then we started our night off with welterweight action as Daniel Rodriguez, who was scheduled to fight Takashi Sato,
Yep.
ends up fighting Dwight Grant and gets the knockout in 2 minutes and 24 seconds. A fight that Dwight Grant early on hurt
Yeah,
Daniel
that was
Rodriguez.
wild.
So that was a good fight. But
A 5-fight main card, 4 finishes, and
Yep.
one incredible 5-round war main event.
agreed. And we'll
Can't
get
ask
more.
for
We'll
more
get
than that.
more into that later on. But we're gonna start with the news.
The news.
And it's quite a bit smaller this week compared to some of our last couple episodes.
I would hope so. It's
Yeah.
only been a couple days.
But it's very important.
they
news.
just keep coming.
The news is very important, though.
Oh, it's important.
Yeah.
Tell them why.
Well, we're going to start. Our first story is going to be a bit of a somber one. You
We were
hate
on a
these.
roll with
You
some
hate
good
these,
news.
right? You hate these. Our August 29th card, which is next Saturday. Originally, one of the main fights of that card was Ryan Hall, kind of an exciting, like, I guess you call him jiu-jitsu practitioner.
Yeah.
He was set to fight Ricardo Lamas, who's a vet, guy who's fought the who's who.
We've talked about him in the Max Holloway fight where
Yeah.
they point at the ground and just start slinging leather at each other.
Yep. But Ryan Hall in that fight's been officially scrapped.
Yes.
Ryan Hall is out of that fight. So yeah, Dom, give us your thoughts.
Hopefully, what did they say what the injury was?
No, they didn't. I think it was
Okay.
undisclosed. They did mention it being an injury and not
Yeah.
COVID related. So
Hopefully, it's nothing too serious to where he can get back into action sooner than later. You mentioned before we started recording, he's had 3 fights in the last 4 years. Is that what you said?
Yep.
So definitely not active. And for a guy that's a stud and like super good and a prospect for that division, this is featherweight if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
145. It's disappointing. So hopefully it's nothing serious. Maybe they can rebook it by the end of the year. And also just to see Ricardo Lamas fight again would be great. So are they looking at a replacement fighter, I wonder, for him?
I haven't heard anything.
That'd be tough on a week's notice.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. That'll be very doable, but you never know. I mean, they do have some. They did have some time because technically this was official. I want to say it was after we recorded Wednesday.
Yeah. I mean,
So-
it would have been a good fight. I think there would have been some good breakdowns we could have had about it because it's really a striker versus jiu-jitsu practitioner. So
Yeah.
it would have been fun. Unfortunately, scrapped. But again, hopefully, all the best for Ryan Hall and that it gets rebooked as soon as possible, or they can just get fights in general.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is the second straight time this fight has been canceled. It was scheduled to. It was booked back in May. Got canceled in May. So overall, this fight's just not been able to happen. I hope it does. Unfortunately for Ryan Hall, man, he's on a bit of a. His clock is running down here.
Yeah.
He's 35. And yeah, he was a Ultimate Fighter season winner, a guy that a lot of people really like due to his ground game, like the submissions, like very exciting.
Super technical.
Yeah. Probably one of the best, maybe the best submission guy in the entire UFC.
Yeah.
Him and like OSP, like we talked about, like those
Yeah,
guys.
Damian Maya. Like,
Yeah, oh yeah, those are like guys on another level, right? But yeah, it's just he's only literally. What's funny is we call him a prospect and Ricardo Lamas a vet.
Yeah.
Ryan Hall's only 3 years younger than Ricardo Lamas.
So Lamas is 38?
He's 38.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Ryan
He's been
Hall's
fighting a
35.
long time,
Now
but
Ryan
yeah.
Hall has not fought that many times. He's
Yeah.
only 8-1, I believe, in his professional career. But yeah, you just kind of hate to see it because he's a guy that like I feel like could really make some noise, but it just seems like injuries and fight cancellations
Yeah.
have just held him back. And he just, I don't know, I haven't seen a lot of urgency out of him to stay active. I mean,
Yeah.
sure, he's had injury problems and stuff, but 3 times in 4 years was not only because he was injured or a fight got canceled. It's a lot of it's just him not being very active.
Exactly.
But hopefully it gets rebooked. I believe it has been for September. Hopefully this time it actually goes through. Any other final thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, again, just hope all the best for him. Hopefully it's nothing serious, and ideally by the end of the year. That's a number 13 ranked guy in the division, Ryan Hall.
Right now I
So,
believe it's September that they're rebooked for. I could be
Awesome.
wrong, but I'm just...
Yeah, so hopefully we get to see it.
Yep. Moving on from there, some big middleweight news came out.
Mm-hmm.
It's been confirmed, I believe, that on December 6th, the headliner...
Fifth, sixth. Fifth?
It's
Sixth?
6th.
Sixth?
Yeah. December 6th, the headliner
Woo!
for that fight night,
He's already back. Freaking
Jack Hermanson,
coming off
fighting Darren, the Gorilla, Till.
Oh, man.
Dom, tell the people.
Till most recently fought, but they both have just fought within the last month, if I'm not mistaken. Hermanson maybe
were
a
both-
little over a month
I
ago.
mean, they were both on the same card, weren't they?
Yeah, was that a month? That's
Wait,
not
no,
even
no,
been
no.
a month,
No,
has it?
that wasn't the same card. I'm a liar.
Close together, though.
Yeah, it was like a week apart.
And so Hermanson came off a super quick, less than a minute, if I'm not mistaken, heel hook on Kelvin Gastelum, made Kelvin look like he didn't even belong in the octagon. So that was shocking. And then Till, just coming off that 5-round war with Robert Whitaker, an incredible
Technical war.
technical striking war, which really, what else did we expect out of those two?
Darren Till always just brings
Yeah.
that. I mean, one of the most underrated fights, in my opinion, is him versus Wonderboy Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
A fight
Super
that
tight.
a lot of people were soured on that fight because they thought Wonderboy won,
Yeah.
and also they thought it was boring.
Yeah.
And I disagree with both of those.
Technical striking wars, you're just like awaiting that one shot that's going to change the whole fight.
That Darren Till,
And they're so intelligent.
See, with Robert Whitaker and Darren Till, I love both of those guys.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a dog in the fight. I wanted to see them both do well, which is a hard thing to ask for in a
Yeah.
fight. But, really, like, I was just sitting there on the edge of my seat, just like, I was just awaiting with
It's-
my hands were
they're
getting
both,
sweaty. I was
like-
like, oh my god, like one of these guys is gonna unload something. Like which one's gonna slip up first?
Right.
And really, even though Whitaker got the decision, it was Whitaker was the one that slipped first.
Yeah.
And Darren Till nailed him.
Yeah.
Had him wobbled for a minute or so, but Whitaker came back. Man, that was probably the most reserved performance we've seen from the
He
Reaper
looks like
in a while.
I mean, he's been a great striker, but there was something about it, like he just leveled up
Yeah.
in that fight.
It just, to me, it looked like he had a newfound patience.
Yeah.
You look at those Yoel Romero fights, and the reasons why they became these like classic all-time fights was because Whitaker he was like, I want to hurt Yoel.
Mm-hmm.
In order to do that, I have to take some of his best shots in order to get to him.
Yeah.
And you saw like in those
Oh,
later rounds of
he
that second
ate
fight,
some shots.
especially,
Yeah.
he was nearly finished. Possibly
You
a
could argue
10-8
Yoel
round.
won. Yeah.
Possibly a 10-8 round, yeah. So I think it was smart for him for his longevity.
Yeah.
Because you see, coming off that fight, he goes up against Adesanya after
got
more than a year off.
Clocked.
And he got embarrassed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not that losing to Adesanya is an embarrassment. It's just
Right.
when you're the champ. It was in it was in Australia.
Yeah, biggest crowd ever.
Biggest
UFC fight.
crowd ever in UFC history, and he just wasn't really there. He was there, but he wasn't. It was it was kind of sad to see. But
So he took some time,
yeah.
and you could really tell, like, that added patience with the power that he still possesses.
Yeah.
He's dangerous. This is also a guy it's crazy to think about this. He's young. He's like 28,
yeah, he's still really young.
which is just wild. Like,
Yeah.
Israel Adesanya is older than Whitaker.
I know, that's crazy.
So, yeah, this dude is on a tear. But in that fight against Darren Till, he basically dismantled Till's leg with that oblique kick.
yeah, I would agree with that.
So Till, of course, after the fight said, yeah, I did the same thing to Wonder Boy, and now I definitely think these kicks should be illegal.
Yeah.
Because Robert injured his leg pretty good. But apparently it's nothing too serious. He didn't have to have surgery or anything.
They're fighting in December,
Yeah,
so
he's in a cast right now, but I think it's only like 6 weeks. Or a brace, I should say.
Okay.
But I think it's like a 6-week recovery,
Yeah.
and then he can start training again.
Yeah, you got to think it's probably a good idea for this fight to be in towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because Jack Hermanson could probably go tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You see how fine he was.
He's coming off a fresh training
Literally,
camp.
that fight was around a minute.
Yeah. It was easy.
He
took
didn't
no
even
damage.
get hit with anything.
Yeah.
He just got on the ground and
Hermanson's good, man. I
He
feel like
is.
it's a guy that's slept on a little bit.
He's definitely overlooked. His one real loss that I can think of in the UFC was against Cannonier,
yeah.
who
Is
right
fighting
now,
Robert Whitaker next,
for
yeah.
probably the number one contender shot for
Mhm.
that middleweight belt. He's real good, man. I definitely don't know if he will win this fight just because Darren Till's just got such a technical striking.
So with Jack, he's kind of like a balanced fighter, you know?
Very
he can
balanced.
strike, he can grapple. But with what he just did to Kelvin, and Kelvin's obviously known for striking, do you foresee him potentially taking this to the ground with Till, or wanting to?
I could see him wanting to, but outside of Tyron Woodley, I've yet to see someone successfully
Yeah.
put Till on
Till's
the
a
ground.
big guy.
Because if you look at that Woodley fight, it's hard to tell how good his ground game is because he was hurt really bad
Yeah.
and got put on the ground, and Woodley just did whatever he wanted, basically. So you might watch it and go, well, his ground game must be pretty weak. But we really don't know. We haven't
Yeah.
seen it. I definitely think he doesn't want to be there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see if Jack, I'm assuming, is going to be a slightly bigger guy. He looks bigger. Is that wrong to say?
I don't...
When
That's
I say
a good
bigger, when I say
question.
bigger, I mean like bulkier, wider.
He probably is a little wider, like from the
Darren's
back, I
probably
guess.
taller.
Darren's real tall. He has like thick legs.
Might have a longer reach.
Yeah.
I
think it's
don't
very
know I don't
interesting.
know the exact numbers on it, but they're so Hermanson could really try to clinch him up, but that's a dangerous guy to try to clinch
Yeah,
with because
man.
you try to reach for him, and all of a sudden
He's
you're
gonna
getting hit
counter
with-
you
you're going to
somehow.
get hit with the counter,
Yeah.
and Darren Till has some power as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
So he's a dangerous guy. It'll be a really fun fight. Great main event for that fight night.
Yeah, that's a really fun fight. It seems forever away, but it'll be here in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, shout out to the UFC for making it happen so far in advance.
Yeah.
They're really trying to hit the rest of this year.
Well, I mean, if we're segueing into the next bullet,
Yeah, I guess so.
This next fight's also in December.
Yeah, we got potentially our main event for UFC 256, which is the last pay-per-view of the year. I would assume that it won't be.
I'm going out on a limb and saying this is the co-main to Stipe Ngannou too.
Yeah, we don't know yet. As of now, it's one of the first fights booked for UFC
the whole
256. It's Amanda Nunes.
The Lioness.
The Lioness, the champ.
She's back.
She's defending the featherweight strap again.
Yep.
Against Megan Anderson.
The only featherweight fighter left to defend against.
Yeah, and I'm glad that this is the fight that's happening.
Yep.
Even though we can sit here and make fun of the women's featherweight division for their lack of rankings and just not really having a lot of contenders.
Yeah.
Compared to bantamweight. With bantamweight though, like there's really nobody there right now that I could see challenging her for the title.
No, I don't think there's that clear-cut number one.
There's not a clear-cut person that deserves a shot.
So with her doing the featherweight belt again in 4 months, it gives time for the bantamweights to play out more. We've got like Holly Holmes fighting soon against Aldana, and Aldana's an up-and-coming prospect. So there's time for the bantamweight to play out, and basically Amanda gets to take out the only other fighter at featherweight.
Yeah.
So it works out.
Yeah,
for both divisions.
Megan Anderson, out between the two divisions, Megan Anderson is definitely the clear-cut, like...
Oh, yeah.
The person...
She's literally like the only one left that Amanda needs to fight from
right.
145.
So what do you think of this fight overall, though?
You know, I'm not going to pick against Amanda.
Right.
Obviously, we're not making predictions for it right now. We're just, saying it got announced. But this intrigues me a little bit. If for anybody who's listening that doesn't know, Megan Anderson is like 6'1", 6'2", super long legs, very big, very strong. And she can strike, but she's known to get a couple submissions. So I'm wondering, like, what does she want to do with Amanda here? Because like, do you really want to strike with Amanda? Like, no one wants to strike with Amanda.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so, right?
But do you really want to be on the ground with Amanda after what she just did?
You wouldn't think so, right?
So, like, as good as Megan is, Amanda is known as the female GOAT for a reason.
I mean, I'll put it like this. The Felicia Spencer fight with Nunes was never really in any danger. I mean, Felicia put on a good fight. Got hit with some shots and survived it all. Got it to a decision. But I look at that defense before that fight against Jermaine Durandamy. That was at bantamweight.
Yes.
Where there were times where Amanda looked slightly uncomfortable with JDR on the feet.
Yeah, we're talking a world-class Muay Thai striker.
Yeah, and a very powerful striker at that. Like someone who has literally fought men and knocked them out.
Yeah.
You can find that video online. So... Amanda ended up just like JDR had no takedown defense whatsoever
and got destroyed on the ground.
Yeah. So this presents a unique challenge for someone like Megan Anderson, who's more of a ground fighter than a stand-up fighter.
Yeah. So, but like, you can't just go on the ground with Amanda and think you're gonna win.
That's
That's how good she is.
Like you would think, okay, well, maybe the key is to like keep her standing and like try to like throw powerful shots, like have some power in your shots, like make her uncomfortable. Because she seems like, at least in that JDR fight, she looked like she was a lot more comfortable on the ground, which is crazy because I always thought of her as being a stand-up kind of fighter. But it's really hard. It's gonna be very hard for Megan Anderson to win this fight.
Amanda is that good.
She's literally
It's no knock to any of these females that she fights. She's just that good. She is better every fight.
She is the best everywhere the fight goes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But
I'm excited.
I'm excited for the
another
fight.
Challenge.
I'm excited for the fight, though. I'm waiting. As much as I love Amanda Nunes and never want to see her lose, there's always that chance. Like you always go into it and you're like, maybe this will be the person.
It's MMA at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Anybody can land that one punch.
So it's always exciting when these fighters get on big win streaks and you kind of tune in just to be like, will they lose this time?
Yeah.
I think of fights like, nobody thought Chris Weidman was going to beat Anderson Silva.
Exactly.
Nobody thought, even though John Jones technically didn't lose.
Yeah.
You've had like, I mean, I remember even going into that Anthony Smith fight, a fight that John ended up dominating.
Yeah.
I was like,
We were excited. I remember to
like-
see Anthony because
like,
he was on a
but really?
knockout spree at that
And
point.
then I remember after that fight, I'm like, okay, Thiago Santos ain't gonna stand a chance. But then he looked great.
in our opinion, wins the fight
Yeah.
on one leg. But
So then I
Yeah.
go into the Dominic Reyes fight, and I'm like, will this be the guy?
yeah,
And I was like, it is the
It
guy.
is the guy.
And then the judges went, psych.
exactly.
But point being,
That's-
there
yeah,
is a level of excitement just because no matter how much you love the champion, you're always like, will this be the person to dethrone them?
Well, yeah, like Volkanovski beating Max Holloway.
And I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, so you'd never know.
Yeah. But can't wait for that. Can't wait to see what fights will be added to that card because UFC usually loves to stack that end of the year card. I'm hoping for 2 more title fights.
Ngannou and Stipe too. Main event.
Stipe too.
I'm calling it.
Maybe Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling as well.
Man,
Something like that.
I don't even need 2 other fights.
Yeah. So overall, very exciting time. I mean, we'll be giving you guys updates as they come with that card.
But this
The
is
last
the
one.
most exciting. I'm about to stand up. I'm about to jump up and down as you say this.
Now hold on. I want you to contain yourself.
I'm trying.
All right. So, I was listening to Dana White's post-fight press conference last night, or Saturday night, I should say. And it was very interesting because someone mentioned, one of the reporters asked a question about Tony Ferguson. El Kakui,
The
as they call
boogeyman.
him. We have not seen him since he fought Gaethje in a fight he kind of got dismantled a little bit. Great fight, but
Yeah.
he got beat up.
Later rounds were tough.
Yeah, so we have not even heard about a Tony Ferguson fight in a while because he's got to be recovering.
I hope so.
And
Don't say it.
Dana goes,
Oh.
well, we already have a fight in mind for Ferguson. And the reporter asked,
Can I take a guess?
can I take a guess who? And he goes, yeah. He goes, Dustin Poirier. And he goes, yep.
I just got chills.
El Kakui versus El Diamante.
I just got chills.
Dom,
Listen,
tell the viewers why this fight is so big.
this would be the most violent fight in UFC history, and I won't be convinced otherwise. I genuinely feel this could be one of the greatest fights that we ever get to witness. And it's for the #1 contender shot at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And
Pretty
like
much.
we mentioned last week on one of our episodes, it's the fight that makes the most sense for both guys.
Yeah, it really does.
So sign the damn contract and announce it. Oh my. Okay, go ahead. You take over for a second.
All right.
I gotta take a break.
Yeah, overall, Tony versus Dustin is a fight that has not happened,
Oh,
but they're literally 2 of the top 5 guys in that entire division. I believe they are number 2 and 3,
2 and 3, I
respectively.
think. Yeah.
So this fight's huge, man. You got on one end Dustin Poirier, a guy who fought for the title. He won the interim lightweight belt, and then he fights Khabib, who's the undisputed champion. Kind of gets dominated in that fight outside of a brief moment
Yeah.
where he had a
Very, very tight
a
guillotine.
guillotine choke, and if he had just pulled guard, he might have won that fight,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
But after that, I believe his next fight was Dan Hooker, wasn't it?
Yes, that just recently
Yeah,
happened.
the one against Dan Hooker that just happened probably like a month and a half ago or so. An amazing fight.
Yes.
A war.
5-round main event. War.
And Dustin came out on top. Clearly came out on top.
Yeah.
Those
Took
later
some
rounds,
damage, but he
those
looked
later
incredible.
rounds, he really showed that heart
Yes.
that he always has possessed.
Yeah.
So coming off that win, Hooker's like number 6 in the division, I believe, right now. We talked on Friday's episode about how Dustin, at least I was saying that I thought Dustin might be in kind of an awkward spot because we had been talking about Michael Chandler,
Yeah.
who had mentioned,
Wanting to fight
Dustin.
Dustin or hinted toward it.
and you said that you didn't think that he should do that, and I get your point of view there. It was just I was looking at it like, well, I didn't know when Tony would be able to fight,
Yeah.
and I'm like, who else is there? Connor's not going to be fighting in 2020. And I'm like, I don't think he wants to wait for the loser of Habib and Gaethje or whatever. So I felt like he was in a very awkward spot. But man, Tony is what a machine. That man, like you look at when he tore his ACL or MCL, whichever it was, when the whole cable incident at Fox.
He was back insanely.
It was an injury.
Soon.
So for those of you that don't know,
yeah,
because I kind of just brushed over.
Yeah.
Someone at home might be like, "What?
Yeah,
he did what?"
Tony likes to wear sunglasses inside, and he tripped over a wire.
He
real.
was set to fight Habib for the lightweight belt
for the 16th time.
This was literally this fight has been booked every year
since 2000. Literally, though, like 5 or 6 times. Legitimately, it's been booked, and it's never happened. I think 5 times.
Yeah.
So
there are people who have been born, have lived full lives, and passed away in the time since the first time this fight was booked and the most recent.
Yeah.
So that fight was booked. I believe it was like the 3rd or 4th time. We're literally fight week. Tony goes.
We got all the way to fight week.
Tony does an interview at Fox Sports for one of their shows. He's walking backstage, maybe doing some Tony Ferguson shit.
Yeah, probably dancing.
Well, there's a cable there.
Yeah.
We're
talking the big, thick, like, television production set cable.
Yeah.
It's not just a little, a little charging cord for your phone.
He trips and tears his MCL.
Yeah. It was a very bad
They said
injury.
he's going to be out 12 to 15 months.
Yeah.
He was back in 6.
Yeah. And won in dominant fashion
against
when he came back.
Anthony Pettis in an awesome fight.
Yeah.
That man's unreal.
He's made of
I don't
steel.
know why I should never.
He kicks telephone poles.
I should never.
For training.
I should never have doubted that man's recovery would be just impeccable.
He's not human.
Right? But yeah, overall this fight is huge. I don't know if it's necessarily the number 1 contender fight, just because, I feel like the loser of Habib Dustin could also, or Habib Justin, excuse me, could potentially be the next fight. A lot of it depends, man. Depends on if Habib wins. Like, is he gonna go on the fight GSP? Will it be for the belt? Will he be relinquishing the belt and moving up to 170 or at catchweight, whatever? There's a lot unknown, but it's very exciting. Just that this division continues to be one of the best that the UFC has to offer, if not the best.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I can't wait.
I want this fight on. Actually, I want this fight co-maining Habib and Justin in October.
Yeah.
If they can.
And that way,
it's 2 months out.
And that's a good.
Plenty of time.
And that's probably what'll happen.
They've been training.
Think
both
about
of them.
if one of the 2 main
exactly.
eventers falls
so
out.
You're covering your ass if someone falls out of the championship fight.
Right.
And if not, you have a co-main with freaking Tony Ferguson and Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, dude. It's gonna be a really good fight. You know that both these guys do not have boring fights.
It's not possible.
And
this would be one of the, if it goes 5 rounds, this would be.
I think we're struggling to put our sentences together. So we'll leave it there. I think.
Violence, man.
More updates to come. Hopefully we get that confirmation.
Violence.
Hopefully we get that confirmation here soon.
Yeah.
And maybe what card it'll be on, and that way we can talk more about it then. But for now, that looks like it's the fight. Can't wait to see it. Agreed?
I just got chills again.
Agreed?
Agreed.
All right.
Violence.
And that's the end of the news.
That's the end of the news.
So.
We got a card to recap.
Yeah, moving on from there. UFC Vegas 7. God.
You good? God. UFC Vegas 7.
God damn, it's about choked on something right there. UFC Vegas 7.
Recap.
At the UFC Apex Center.
Las Vegas.
Nevada.
Hence, the name UFC Vegas.
Yep.
All right, get it. Bring up a fight. Let's go. We going top to bottom, right?
We'll start at the first fight.
First fight of the night. Okay.
Welterweight action: Daniel Rodriguez against Dwight Grant. What are your thoughts? I see you got the notepad here.
The notepad. Ooh, well, as we mentioned when we first started, 5 fights last night. 4 of them were finishes.
Right.
So I didn't have too many notes to take because the damn fights were ending so quickly. So I'm over here scribbling words into my notepad. But this fight was amazing. Do you want to tell the people what this first line says here underneath this fight?
It just says "Holy crap" in all caps.
Yeah. So Dwight Grant, again, this guy was going to be on the prelims. His fight got canceled, so he took place of Takashi Sato, who we mentioned in the preview episode, to fight Daniel Rodriguez. So, long story short, because this fight only lasted 2 minutes and 24 seconds, Dwight Grant and Daniel Rodriguez, a striking battle, to say the least. Grant knocks down Rodriguez, pounces on him, fires off big-time shots. Rodriguez survives, gets back up. Mm-hmm. Then they start trading shots again. Rodriguez, boom, flattens Grant, jumps on him for the ground and pound. See you, wouldn't want to be you.
Yeah, this fight was pretty nuts.
Amazing. There were even in the prelims. I know we don't cover these, but that one guy,
Trevin Jones.
Yeah, Trevin Jones, could probably comeback of the year. I just want to mention it really quick.
He fought Timur Valiev.
Yeah, so a prelim fight. We didn't touch on it a lot. We're not going to touch on it a lot here.
Very first fight of the whole night.
Very first fight of the night. Trevin Jones gets absolutely dominated in the first round. Brutally beaten to where the fight probably could have been stopped. Getting hit in the body over and over and over and over. Goes back to the corner. Second round starts. He shocks the world.
This was a night of comebacks. I think that's a good way to put it.
Unbelievable. And underdogs.
You look at that first fight, which I know we tend to stick with the main card, but what a way to start it off.
Yeah.
Because we do watch all of them. We watch the prelims as well, but we just tend to keep it just about the main card as far as breakdowns, or else we'd be here all night.
Yeah.
Now, you look at that Rodriguez-Grant fight, that was a comeback.
Yeah.
Rodriguez was hurt.
Yeah, he was very hurt. You
And
could have
then
stopped the fight.
That left hand, I think it was an overhand left that dropped him. Wow.
I literally...
That shot, man, Grant folded like a sack of potatoes, bro.
I put, Dan drops Grant, they trade blows, then boom. He clocked him, put him to sleep.
And then you even look at the main event, which we'll get to later, but that was pretty much a comeback for Frankie if you really look at it.
Yeah, as an overall.
Which I know we'll get more into it later, but... overall, that was my takeaway. Was there's a lot of comebacks, and you always like to see that, right? You like to see these back. You don't want to see guys just get dominated.
Yeah,
you want to see guys be competitive and whatnot.
And we called this on Friday, man. We told people not to sleep on these fights, and look at the card we got.
And at first, I was a little nervous that might blow up in our face.
Yeah,
because we have to keep in mind.
When these fights are getting canceled,
2 of the 5 cards that we broke or fights that we broke down got scrapped.
Yeah,
1 completely.
And then one
you had Daniel Rodriguez got saved, but Takashi Sato out. Dwight Grant on the prelims, his opponent falls out.
Shout out Dwight Grant and Daniel for being game to just fight whoever.
Yeah. And
literally 1 day's notice.
I know Grant getting knocked out in 2 minutes. He's probably disappointed,
but he looked great.
He looked good, man. He's 35. Daniel Rodriguez is 33.
Yeah, those guys are tough as hell.
I believe at the post-fight press conference, someone asked Dana about maybe getting Rodriguez a top 15. And he said we'd have to look. He said maybe. He said because he is 33. It's not like he has a ton of time left. That he's kind of right now is the end of his peak. Yeah. So now would be the time. But I mean, his record's impressive. I believe he's 13-1 now.
Yeah, and most of them are by finish.
Hasn't lost since back in 2017 for Combate.
Yeah, so 3 years undefeated.
So yeah, I mean he in the UFC though he's 3-0. All by 2 by finish.
There you go.
And then 1 by decision. So I definitely think
if anything, 1 more fight and then top 15.
I don't have a fight in mind. I don't want to oversell.
Well, it's hard because once you get outside of the rankings, which only go to 15, then you're do they really do 16, 17, 18?
Yeah, I think
or is it just a big puddle?
So far I've noticed that you tend to be all about trying to give if they look impressive enough, no matter if it's someone who also is kind of an unknown or whatever, or hasn't fought high competition, you're kind of well, why not give him a top 15? Well, for me, I'm always more reserved about it, I guess. I usually am well, I don't know if he's there yet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But would not surprise me if he did, just because Dana pretty much said as such that we'll see. He doesn't tend to make those decisions himself anyways. It seems like he trusts his matchmakers.
Shout out
quite
Mick Maynard, Sean Shelby.
Yep. So we'll see what happens with him there, but Oh, the second fight. Women's flyweight action. Shayna Dobson gets the TKO finish in the second round over Maria Agapova. I'm just going to say it so nobody else will. The elephant in the room here. I literally said on Friday's episode that I was like, I'm calling it. I said if I'm wrong, people can roast me.
Well, now's their chance.
I said it was a fight made for Maria to dominate, be a showcase. Round one, she looked solid.
Back and forth, very crazy.
Dobson got the takedown and stuff.
They had a crazy
Agapova
pace.
just looked nuts on the feet, like a little wild, too wild.
Yeah, Brad Okamoto tweeted last night. He said, the next time that Agapova fights, can Bruce Buffer just announce her fighting style as street for Street Fighter?
Yeah, it was exciting stuff.
Wild.
Though. But that second round was a complete smashing domination.
Yeah. She went from looking relatively comfortable on the ground and like reversing and being able to get back up, etc. Second round, comes out swinging, gets taken down. Dobson dominated the whole second round. Controlled everything on the ground. And it honestly looked like Agapova, I'm not going to say she was gassed, but she wanted no part of it. Like
she looked scared.
She was getting pounded, and then the ref stepped in for a second round.
So shout out Shayna Dobson, who was 1-3 in the UFC going into this fight.
Plus 800 underdog.
The biggest underdog odds wise since Holly Holm against Ronda Rousey. So, man, or I should say the biggest underdog who actually won.
Yeah.
But,
what a freaking performance, really, by her. Shocking everybody.
Yeah, and we'll see what's next for both of them. I don't think Agapova is done by any means.
There's a lot of hype trains. Now, I'm not going to say they're getting shut down, but they're stopping. Stopping at a train station and refueling because.
Yeah, she's still 23.
Yeah,
very young. I'm sure she'll be back. Even though Shayna looked good, I don't have as high of hopes for her prospects in the future. I think this might have just been one of those.
Well, and she's significantly older than Agapova, too.
Yeah, so, and also this is another shout out to Mick Maynard, because Dana said that when he saw that fight was booked, he went, what are we doing, guys? I think he said, I don't want to be like top ranked, talking about boxing.
Yeah.
And, because he thought, like, on paper, he's like, Agapova's going to smash this girl. And Mick said,
trust me.
He said, I think Dobson's going to win.
Yeah.
He's like, I have a good feeling about it. And
he should have placed a bet last night.
Somebody placed a $25,000 bet on Agapova.
That's just stupid.
I don't understand.
With like hardly any payout.
That tells me that there's someone with fuck you money who doesn't understand betting, and they just throw a bunch of money at somebody.
Now, if someone put $25K on Dobson, whoop, they had a pretty good morning when they woke up today.
Jesus, dude, you ain't kidding. But, yeah, overall,
what an upset.
Good fight.
Great. Shout out Shayna Dobson for overcoming the odds, shutting everybody up, and putting on a great performance.
So our third fight, this was the one bumped from the...
This came from the prelims completely.
Yeah. Lightweight action, Joe Solecki gets the rear naked choke finish over Austin Hubbard in almost 4 minutes in the first round.
Yeah, these are both really rising prospects for that division.
So, Dom, just tell everybody kind of what your thoughts were on the fight.
Yeah, so it was 3 minutes and 51 seconds into the first round. Not a whole lot of action, really, at first. There was a lot of clinch work. It got up to the cage. Solecki was then able to, maneuver around to where his back, he was between Hubbard and the cage, so his back was on the cage. Wraps that arm around Hubbard's neck, got the body triangle, and then from there, squeezed so tight, dude. It never even made to the ground. Hubbard was standing up, and Solecki was on his back. He squeezed that rear naked, and he tapped within like 5 seconds. It was over.
Yeah.
Solecki is a very promising prospect. Hubbard was as well, and I'm not saying he still doesn't have talent, but Solecki looked really good.
He looked really good. And, I didn't have a whole lot of takeaway from this fight besides that I actually knew more about Austin Hubbard than I did Solecki going in. And then leaving that fight, I'm like, I can't wait to watch Solecki fight next. Like, hopefully he gets a higher...
I believe Solecki has, 10 wins now or something.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what his record is, but...
if I remember correctly, 7 of them are by finish, and 5 of those 7 finishes are all rear naked chokes.
Oh, really?
So, let's just say when he gets his arms wrapped around your neck, you're either going to sleep or you're tapping.
Yeah, and that's a lightweight division, a very talent-rich division. So there's some dogs that are outside of that top 15 that'll be awaiting guys like Selecki and Hubbard as they make their way up. But I very enjoyable fight. I think out of the 5, it was probably the least action, I guess.
Yeah.
It was kind of like I look at it like a calm before the storm.
Yeah.
It was very calm, not a whole lot happening. You said a lot of clinch work,
And then boom.
but then boom, finish, done, pretty much.
It was a good display of talent. It's fun watching these up and comers, and seeing the talent that is going to take over these rankings of the UFC in 2-3 years.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
I agree. So moving on from there, our co-main event, the loser leaves the brand match.
It's basically what we're talking about.
At least that's what we had been,
seeing.
Light heavyweight action. Mike Rodriguez got the KO win over Marcin Prokhnio in about 2 minutes, a little over 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So what were your thoughts on the fight?
I put Mike dominated the clinch. Dominated in all caps.
Yeah, he really did.
It was honestly it was a 2-minute fight, and almost all 2 minutes were in the clinch. It was crazy.
Yeah.
They're going back and forth, trading shots, but then all of a sudden, Mike gets it into the Muay Thai clinch, where he's got both hands wrapped around the back of Prokhnio's neck. He lands some big knees that definitely start the finishing sequence. You can see Prokhnio's starting to change a little bit. You can tell he's damaged. Then he stands up to leave the clinch, and as he's trying to leave, Rodriguez hits him with an elbow. Oh man, it was nasty.
Yeah,
sat him down and then finished the fight.
That elbow was nasty.
It was nasty.
He was out as soon as he hit the floor, and he still got hit with 2 punches on the ground.
Rodriguez wasn't messing around.
Yeah. Shout out to Rodriguez there, man. He was game. And Prokhnio, it just kind of, man, that guy just looks like he looks like he needs to go back, which is apparently might be the case. He came from ONE FC.
He was 4-0 in ONE FC too.
Yeah. And I don't know how high he was in ONE FC. I don't know if he was just a prospect. Usually you don't see that though.
Yeah.
Usually if we're
I feel like in the other divisions, if you're not in the UFC, you're like a stud.
Usually when we see guys come from ONE FC or Pride, or sorry, not Pride. Yes, back in the day. But not Bellator.
Yeah.
Or Ryzen even with Prochaka, the light heavyweight.
Yeah.
Or even PFL has had some guys come over.
Yeah, they have great fighters there.
You usually see them as being these big prospects or they're stars already.
Yep.
Talking about Michael Chandler might be coming over. That's a guy that's a star over there.
Yeah.
So with Prokhnio though, I don't know if I don't remember hearing much about him when he came over, but he sure has not shown much to me to make me think that he's worthy of being in the UFC right now.
Well, yeah, that was his 3rd fight in the UFC. He's 0-3, all 3 losses by finish. So something's got to change for him if he wants to get one more opportunity, or they release him and he goes back down to the I don't want to say minor leagues. That sounds mean.
I know what
he
you
goes
mean,
back down
though.
to another organization, whoever it may be, and see if he can find some success.
He's 32, so definitely not.
The window is
promising.
closing.
Yeah, but there's really not. I mean, he's been finished in all 3 fights that he's had in the UFC.
It'd be one thing if he's getting these split decisions, close fights that are wars, but he's just getting finished.
Literally, all 3 fights have not gone past the first round.
Yeah.
I don't see it for him. Mike Rodriguez, on the other hand, he's
that was a big win.
31. He trains out of Lausanne MMA, so he's got some nice training partners out there with the Lausanne boys. But yeah, it was a big win for him. I think it was good. It was good enough to where I think he can hang around for at least a couple more fights.
Exactly.
So, shout out to him. But any other final thoughts on that fight? That elbow was nuts, man.
Yeah, you see a lot of clinch work, but you don't see a ton of the Muay Thai where someone controls the head of the opponent and hits these big knees and stuff, but he did last night, and that was cool to see.
Yeah, I agree. So, moving on to our main event of the evening.
It's crazy when the first 4 fights are all finishes. You can only talk about so much.
I know I've been kind of giving you the floor here, and I'm going to do it again. because I know you had a lot of thoughts. Just to let you guys know, like
I got a lot of bullet points here.
Dom picked me up before we recorded so we could get food, and as soon as I got in the car, first he was like, "Did you watch the fights?" And I was like, "Yeah, I watched them this morning," and then he's like, "That decision was bullshit."
Yeah.
So Frankie Edgar ultimately got the split decision win over Munoz, and funny enough, you predicted that right.
I did predict an
And
Edgar decision.
And yet you're upset.
Yeah, that's definitely not.
I don't think upset's the right word. I just want you to, you were definitely just like, dude, I had it 4-1 Munoz.
Yeah, like Noah said, I scored the fight. I'm going to be honest. I had to like rewatch some moments of the fight and stuff and like look at stats because I almost had it 5-0.
Right.
Munoz.
That's what you said.
But the one round I ended up giving to Frankie, making it 4-1 for Pedro, was the second round because that was his most strikes that he outlanded. The difference of strikes, I guess, landed between the two. I just feel like, first of all, shout out Frankie Edgar, 38 years old, finally getting to the weight class that he probably should have been at for years, and he hung in there regardless of if I think he won or lost, with a top 5 stud that's on a tear, winning 3 of his last 4 fights against top guys. Frankie came out, put on a show. It was fight of the night, well deserved. 5 rounds, fast paced, so many combinations and striking and just everything. It was a fantastic fight. But I don't think that Munoz got the credit he deserved for controlling the pace and the fight as a whole.
Yeah.
He cut off the octagon and had Frankie's back on the fence for 25 minutes. Frankie had to go where Pedro forced him to go. Now, granted, Frankie's the stud veteran who knows what he's doing, so he can land shots and land combos no matter if he's on his back foot, if he's working to the left, working to the right, it doesn't matter. But I just feel like if we're talking bigger shots, it was Pedro. The leg kicks Pedro landed were brutal. Frankie's left leg today, he ain't walking. I guarantee you that, because these leg kicks were very, very, very vicious leg kicks. But every round was back and forth. I will say the one advantage, and Kamaru Usman did a great breakdown of this last night in the post-fight stuff with Karen O'Brien. He basically said that Frankie was landing these 3 or 4 punch combinations. So if you're a judge, you're seeing it and you're like, oh wow, look at all these shots. Now maybe only 1 or 2 out of the 3 or 4 landed, but Munoz was doing these 1 or 2 punch power shots and landing big time. Like, it was crazy. So bigger shots went to Munoz. The octagon control went to Munoz. And I don't want to call it a robbery because you know how we always talk about the robberies, and I don't like saying that unless it's like a really obvious.
Right.
So I'm not upset that Frankie won. It just sucks for a guy like Pedro that was on a roll, top 5, fighting a veteran, a legend of the UFC, and in my opinion won. Like, even if I scored at 4-1, there's no way he didn't win at least 3. So for 2 judges to say that he only won 2 rounds is crazy. Because the one judge that gave the fight to Pedro had it 4-1. So I just went on a really long tangent. And I'm like not upset, I promise. I was just very surprised with the decision.
Yeah.
But I'll let you fill in now.
Yeah, I mean, I also had it scored for Munoz. But I think I had it 3-2. I definitely thought it was really close. And my big reason for giving it to Munoz was definitely that control.
Yeah,
and just
crazy.
the harder shots.
Yeah.
I thought Frankie looked great to hang in there, and he was taking punches that you had seen put out Cody Garbrandt, guys like that. You know, Frankie had been looking suspect with the chin for the last year, so
yeah, no
he
kidding.
looked a lot better than I thought he was going to in this fight.
Well, usually when you're dropping weight, your chin's supposed to get worse, and he was eating some heavy hands.
Yeah, and I mean, Frankie looked great too. He was also landing the good shots and using that quick footwork to
It was
get around
very
the octagon.
fast paced.
Yeah, very fast paced. He definitely looked like he was the fresher fighter by the end, I thought. So I definitely thought like it looked like he somehow, even though Munoz I thought was landing the better shots, I thought Frankie had um, basically I thought Frankie was like wearing down Munoz more than Munoz was wearing down Frankie.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think that's where, as we mentioned Friday, Frankie has been in so many decisions, the most octagon fight time of any fighter in UFC history. So, like, I don't want to say it's the experience thing, because obviously if you get hit in the face, it doesn't matter how many fights you've had. But the fact that he didn't tire at all, not that Pedro looked like sloppy at the end, but he was definitely fatigued more than Frankie, and I think that's just where all the fight comes into play. Like all
Right.
the hours, literally hours that he's fought in that octagon, it showed, and his cardio is incredible. 38 years old, man.
Yeah.
You like, no matter if I think he won or lost, he looked great, and I
And
can't
it was
take
a
that away
great
from
fight.
him. It was an incredible
And it just
fight.
it just again shows the like just the fucking like heart of Frankie Edgar.
Yeah,
Think of those wars he's been in over the years.
yeah.
He has you mentioned it on Friday, the most time in the octagon of any UFC fighter.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's close.
And guess what? He just went 5
Yeah,
rounds.
there's
so-
25 more minutes.
Yeah, so there's a few more for you. So ultimately, like, I think what surprised me was I was curious how many people online were gonna be calling it like a bullshit decision, because that I swear
I didn't see much of that.
no, everybody was just giving Edgar his props.
Which, there you go. That
Yeah.
I mean, if that doesn't say enough about
This really
Frankie,
felt like a fight, even though Munoz lost. I feel like both guys kind of won. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Like they both looked great. Neither guy really showed much flaw in their performance. Like,
Yeah.
I thought Munoz won, but really both guys kind of won in my eyes, because I thought Munoz was going to come in and pretty much steamroll Edgar, or at least finish him.
Well, I mean, even for a guy like Pedro, losing obviously Frankie was unranked. His first fight at 135, he lost to a legend,
Yeah.
former champion at 155, title contender at 145. So like, even that he loses, he was ranked 5th, so he'll lose a couple spots obviously, but like at the end of the day, he's still going to be 2 fights away from a title fight.
Yeah.
2 wins away, I should say.
I agree.
You know? So it sucks for him because, again, I think that he did win, and obviously he thought he won. But, you know, it is what it is.
So overall, who do you think is next for these two guys?
Let me pull up my list here.
Well, I'll go first then. So for me, Munoz coming into this fight was a number 5 ranked bantamweight.
Yep.
So you have to assume that Frankie's probably going to jump him and be number 5 now.
He'll be right up there.
So ultimately, though, I don't think Frankie should be fighting a guy like Rice, Aljamain Cody, or Sandhagen right now. I know
Yeah.
those guys are all booked for fights anyways.
I have 2 guys in my head.
I think Jose Aldo for a 3rd time. These guys have fought twice before at 145 pounds. First time when Jose was the dominant champion, and Frankie, it was his first fight at featherweight back in 2013. And then the second time was at UFC 200.
Yeah.
And I still can't remember correctly.
Decision.
Right, but you thought it was for the interim belt, and I was skeptical of that. But it
Either
could have been
way-
either way. It kind of ended up being.
It was a 5-round fight.
It ended up kind of being for that anyways,
Yeah.
because look at what happened afterwards.
Yeah.
With Connor ended up getting stripped and whatnot.
Yeah.
So Aldo's gotten both wins,
Yeah.
but in these decision fights,
Those close fights, decisions.
Yeah.
The first fight probably not as close because that's when Aldo was on top of
I
the
don't really
world.
think either fight was very close, but I wouldn't mind seeing it again.
At a new weight class for both
Yeah,
of them.
at a weight class that feels proper for both of them at this point in their career.
Yeah.
They're legends. They're older. Like
Aldo coming off.
but both very competitive.
Yeah, and Aldo just fought for a title at this weight class.
Yes, he did.
Which is, I don't know, we'll get into
Which is
that.
a little wild.
Yeah,
but,
I don't want to get into that, but
the other matchup would be against someone like Dominic Cruz.
yes, those are the 2 people that
Technically, Dominic Cruz is ranked 11th,
that's
but I think that that's a bit of a false ranking there, considering I get it. I mean, I think he should definitely be at least like number 8 or 9.
Yeah, I think that's crazy.
I mean, and
he lost to Cejudo.
I mean, he literally hasn't.
That's the champ.
The problem just is that he's not been active enough.
Yeah.
Now, I think that'd be a really tough fight for Frankie.
Yeah.
I think that's a very tough fight for him.
Dominic Cruz is a tough fight for everybody.
And Dominic Cruz has said that now that he's like kind of back or whatever, he said that he only wants to fight names.
Yeah, like legacy fights.
Yeah, he doesn't have much interest in fighting a guy like Jimmy Rivera or Rob Font or Cody Stamann or Murav Davalishvili or someone like that. He wants to fight guys with some credibility to him, some name to him, legacy fights like you just said.
Yeah, well, Dominic Cruz has nothing left to prove at bantamweight because
Yeah.
he's considered the best bantamweight ever.
Better
Frankie
fight?
wants a title shot. Now, I still think by either beating Jose or Dominic Cruz, then he's just one fight away from a title shot.
What better fight to really make a statement there?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And all three of those dudes are legends.
Yeah.
So they're all like legacy fights regardless of the outcome.
So those are the two matchups that interest me. I just don't imagine, even though he won, I don't imagine Frankie jumping ahead to either of the 4 guys in front of him because really they're all booked.
Yeah.
But on the other end of this decision,
I got 2 names for Munoz.
The big one for me would be Jimmy Rivera.
Yep.
That's a good matchup on paper. Pedro has some power in his shots.
Rivera's that technical point fighter.
Yeah, and it might end up being kind of a dull fight. You never know because Jimmy, I wouldn't say he puts on the most exciting of fights.
He's not he's a point fighter.
Yeah, but I respect.
Not that I'm like
respect the hustle though.
Yeah.
You know that guy is. At one time, I thought when we saw him in Cleveland, I thought he was going to be.
He was
champ.
undefeated when we saw him.
I thought he was going to end up being champ.
Yeah, and now he has 4 losses. But
Yeah,
I digress.
But the other name would be
a Sun Sal for me.
Yeah.
Coming off of a loss to Cody, Munoz beat Cody.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say maybe Cody Stamann, but you know, either one there.
I liked Stamann as well, but I know this is like unrelated, but like for Cheeto Vera, I want him to fight like a Rob Font or a Stamann, so that's why I said a Sun Sal.
Yeah,
or
no, for sure.
Jimmy, but yeah.
Yeah, so overall,
I mean, we both basically agree on both guys.
Yeah,
so.
I think that they're both in pretty decent spots, though. I mean, Munoz is fine. He'll be all right.
Again, like I said, he's gonna move back to maybe 6 or 7 at the most.
And that's
it shouldn't go more than that.
That's a talent stacked division.
Yeah, so 2 wins, title shot.
Yeah,
you know?
Potentially.
Frankie, maybe 1 win and a title shot. You know how the UFC is.
Yeah,
I would say personally,
Frankie,
2 more.
It's kind of been an ongoing. It used to be more of a joke back in the early days of MMA Twitter that Frankie was the guy that just always got title shots.
Yeah.
So I have no interest in ever seeing him in a title fight again. But
if
he proves it,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I ain't gonna deny him.
Yeah.
But for now, I have no interest in that right now.
Right.
But we'll see. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah. This division right now is on fire.
Agreed.
You could say this is the hottest in the UFC
Agreed.
right now.
It definitely, I would probably say, is just because of how much
a lot of moving pieces,
how much movement is going on at the top.
Yep.
That welterweight, really, even though lightweight might still be the most stacked.
Yeah. Right.
It's just been moving at a more slower pace when you have a guy like Khabib.
These dudes in bantamweight, there's big fights all the time.
Yeah.
The whole top 10.
So that was UFC Vegas 7.
That's the recap.
Yeah, fight of the night definitely was our main event.
Yeah, we wanted to we didn't mention this in our last recap, but we want to mention what we thought was fight of the night.
And then
so
also,
not necessarily what the UFC announced,
yeah,
but we want to say who we thought it was.
And then also who our fighter of the night was.
Yeah.
So for me and for you, main event,
fight of the night.
Yeah,
100%.
Frankie Edgar beating Pedro Munoz.
Yeah. My
fighter of the night, I got to give it to Shayna Dobson.
Same.
Yeah,
I agree.
I have to. Just because I counted her so far out.
Who didn't?
And she really went in there and proved me and everybody really wrong.
Yeah, and she didn't just win some decision. She finished.
I was very tempted to go Daniel Rodriguez, but I couldn't just because of what I said about Shayna going in. And
shout out Shayna Dobson, our Below Average Joe's UFC podcast consensus fighter of the night at UFC Vegas 7.
Kind of like, think about what the UFC does equivalent to their performance of the night bonuses.
Yeah. We're giving out ours.
It's like our fighter of the night, just who stuck out to us as being the biggest winner of the night kind of thing.
Definitely Shayna Dobson.
So, that was UFC Vegas 7.
There it is.
Very great card, though.
We hope you all enjoyed the preview, and we hope that it gave you guys some hype.
Yeah,
and I hoped you guys watched the fights.
I mean, despite we were really proud of Friday's episode, and I'm still very
arguably
proud.
Our best episode.
And I'm very proud of it. It's a shame that
two fights fell
out. That we really, especially the first one where we really went hard on that one.
Yeah.
But that's the fight game for you. Now, I will say that at first I was like, man, this fight looks like, because really the card was kind of a disaster in a sense, because
prelims and
Dana was even talking about 7 members of the production crew tested positive, I believe.
Yeah.
So they were like just.
This is probably their all-around worst week.
It was the worst card that's been like when it comes to COVID.
And it didn't stop.
But really, didn't deliver. And Dana said he's like every fighter on that card's getting a bonus.
Yeah, he's writing extra checks for a bunch of people.
For everybody, I think.
That's freaking awesome.
So what a guy, right?
What a guy! What a night of fights.
Yeah.
I hope our listeners, or at least some of them, got to enjoy them as much as we did.
Yeah, and also shout out Mac Malley, right?
Shout out. This is kind of a big deal for us.
Yeah, go ahead. This was your doing. I want to hear you talk about it.
Well, shout out to you. I would have never found the Twitch chat, so it's a team thing. So our boys over at MMA On Point. If you guys have never watched MMA On Point, by the way, go check them out.
They're the biggest MMA related YouTube channel on YouTube, so I feel like the majority of people who find us will probably already know who they are, but for a lot of our friends and people that kind of just listen to us for UFC.
Shout out. Like, if we ever get to work with MMA On Point, that would be awesome.
Well, I just want to, awesome. If you're someone that likes top 10 lists, and they do live
history of the,
they do live chats. They go very in depth and stuff.
Everything.
Great
Crazy.
Channel. Really like those guys, but they have a Twitch. They started doing Twitch channel.
Yep.
Playing UFC 3 and now UFC 4.
Yep.
Video game, and they teamed up. Mac Malley, who's the
Twitter MMA
goat,
really. I guess that's what.
He's pretty much like the top dog of MMA.
Yeah,
Twitter.
Anybody here that's involved with the MMA community on Twitter, you probably know who Mac Malley is.
And he had been hired by MMA On Point recently to handle their social media. So then that turned into he was like doing these Twitch streams for him,
because he's always been like playing UFC video games,
and he's really good at them too. Technically, as far as rankings worldwide. So I had this idea when we first started the podcast, because at the time they had just started them and they hadn't started publicizing them on their YouTube channel.
A brand new community, close knit, not many people.
So there
involved.
wasn't a lot of people like at all that were listening compared to how many subscribers they have and whatnot.
For sure.
So it was very tight-knit, close. So for a while I would be like kind of like engaging with some of the people in the comments. And I told Dom, I was like, I think I might throw a plug in there or something to try to
to like, not to like take credit away for them or like take attention away from MMA On Point, but like let the community know that like, hey, we're
if you want to support something that's UFC related,
we think we would interest you, basically.
Yeah. And I never actually pulled the trigger on it though, and then you did it on Friday, so
Friday
go ahead
night,
and talk about that.
I watched the whole stream. It was like 4 hours. It was so fun. They're very engaged with the chat, which is fun. So I was asking a bunch of questions with Mac Malley and Jason and everybody in the stream. So everybody's just commenting, who's going to fight who, all that fun stuff. And I mentioned to Mac Malley, hey, me and my buddy started this new UFC-focused podcast. Would love to just share it with the community. Not trying to take away any credit from them, because it's their night, it's their stream, whatever. Right. He's like, yeah, man, tweet it over at me. I'd be happy to look at it and retweet it for you guys. And I mean, shout out to Mac Malley, because he looked at the tweet. He gave us a retweet. He liked it. A ton of people got to see the tweet and visited the link.
He followed.
Yeah, Mac Malley followed me on Twitter. He liked your tweet as well.
Yeah, I replied.
So Mac Malley's the man, and that was just kind of a big deal for us.
I didn't get a follow from Mac Malley, so that's next.
That's next.
Yeah.
But like right now for us, it's the little things that matter. So like, we're 2 weeks in, and our girl Megan O'Leary threw us on our Instagram story. Matt Malley's tweeting us on Twitter. So, it's just the little things right now means a ton.
And most importantly, thank you guys for your constant support.
Man.
We've been we're still just blown away. 29 subscribers as of
Sunday the 23rd.
23rd.
Yeah.
So
and less than two weeks in.
Total viewership over our 6 videos has been close to.
We're over 500 now, I believe.
Over the course of 6 videos, so very proud of that. But yeah, if you guys love this, just keep letting us know like things you want to see us do.
Yeah, that's what I want a lot.
Yeah,
let us know what you want us to make podcasts
even if you want to just ask us questions, we'll answer it and
we'll have a Q&A podcast or a live stream or
even
something.
Just if we're only getting like 1 or 2, we'll answer them on the podcast if it's something that you want to know specifically.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to just engage with some of them.
Yeah, right now it's really like building our podcast community.
Yeah, in a way.
And so far it's been great, and I know it's only going to keep getting better.
Yeah, and I do want to point out that Dom has been doing a good job of, in the description of this video, you can find timestamps, and moving forward, and if you go back to some of our previous ones, there are timestamps for the start of our news segments and then the start of either if it's our breakdown or if it's our recap. So that way, if you're someone who maybe has more of an interest in one or the other, you can start at that point. Or if it's something, if maybe you want to watch one at the time and come back later. If you want to skip a lot of the intro and a lot of what we're doing right now, that's a way for you to do it.
And you can literally, in the description, click right on that time, and it takes you there in the video. Yeah. You don't have to scroll along the bar to get there.
So take full use of that if that's what you want to do. I understand completely that not everybody has an hour and a half or give or take to sit there.
I'm a guy that splits up podcasts when I listen to them.
I do too.
In different sittings. So.
Yeah, a lot of it depends. So overall, thank you guys for the support. Dom, tell the people where they can find you on social media.
For me personally, it's going to be DSalee14 on Instagram and Twitter. As always, be sure to follow our podcast Instagram, Below Average Joes _podcast.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ntbaker_. And for the rest of the week, Wednesday, we're taking a trip down memory lane.
Oh, yeah.
We're going in the time machine back to a simpler time.
Simpler times.
September 2016, basically the start of our college career.
Yeah.
And we went to Cleveland, Ohio for UFC 203, Stipe first title defense against Alistair Overeem. We went with 2 of our buddies. Shout out to them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to bring you guys all over to the reading rug. Like they did back in grade school. Back when I don't know if you guys had the cards. It's like the green cards, and you were bad, so you flipped it to yellow or red.
It was like, really bad.
If it was fucking blue, it's like you can't go out to recess. And I was like, damn, bro, I'm missing out on recess. But
this time you're gonna want to be
after recess, because you get to fucking hear this story.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a personal thing for us to talk about it. Like it's something that we just really like. It's one of our favorite.
Yeah, more getting to know us type of episode.
But I promise that the day was just so nuts.
Yeah,
just so much happened that I think you guys will enjoy it quite a bit. And we're gonna enjoy talking about it.
Yeah, and for anyone that's ever been to a UFC event, let us know. Or for anyone who's ever interested in going, once we're allowed to have crowds in stadiums again, you're going to want to tune in and it's incredible. I can't wait to go over it.
Yeah. And then Friday, our breakdown, UFC Vegas 8 at the Apex.
UFC just keeps churning them out, baby.
Yep. Anthony Lionheart-Smith is back.
He's back.
Going up against Alexander Rakic.
It's a big one at light heavyweight.
Co-main Ruthless Robbie Lawler versus Neil Magny.
Oh, man.
So excited for those 2
fights.
This
is a good fight night.
Yeah, so I'll be very excited to break that down with you, and we'll also talk about the news that comes out between now and then. And, that's it. We're out, and we'll see y'all on Wednesday.